Good morning, everyone, and happy Tuesday. I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving. For those of you that are in Canada watching this, for those in the US, I hope you had a great weekend. I know some of you guys had Columbus Day, so maybe you had a long weekend too. I'm here today to talk about bully breeds because they get a bad rap, and it bothers me a lot. But first, I want to point out a very important distinction. There are bully breeds and there are Pitbull breeds. And the Pitbull breeds are the ones that get the worst of it, and they are the ones that are banned through breed-specific legislation. And still in Ontario, I know they removed the one in Montreal, but I don't know if they lifted the one here yet. But bully breeds consist of a lot of dogs you may not think would be considered bully breeds. For example, the Boston Terrier, Boxer, Cane Corso, Great Dane. You got a pug in there, Rottweiler, Old English Bulldog. They are technically bully breeds, but when you're breaking it down into... Hi, Monica. When you're breaking it down into Pitbull breeds, there are only 6 breeds that are considered Pitbull breeds. The American Bulldog, the American Bully, which are different dogs if you pull up pictures, the American Pitbull Terrier, the American Staffordshire Terrier, and the Staffordshire Bull Terrier. There's also the red and blue nose Pitbull. Technically, this is a subcategory of the American Pitbull, but those are the only ones that are actually considered Pitbull breeds. So these are the ones that are banned, but the law is very vague about it. It says any breed that looks like it or could be possibly considered a Pitbull breed is banned. So even if your dog just has the long jowls or the square head, they could be misconstrued as a Pitbull breed, which is very concerning because ultimately if your pet does something, you are responsible for it and they can take your pet away if they look like a Pitbull breed, because that is how the law works, unfortunately. But breed-specific legislation was a reaction to all of the dog bites. The statistics kept going up, more people were being bitten, but they didn't really look that well at the statistics because now that they've been banned for several years, the statistics were being revisited, and that's why the ban was lifted in Montreal. Not to mention, they have, and I got all of this from an article or two, they have no scientific evidence that pit bulls are more likely to bite than other dogs. And an interesting fact I'm going to share with you soon will lay that out. But ultimately, the argument against breed-specific legislation is that ultimately it's the owner's responsibility, as it should be. If they pick a dog they aren't ready to handle, or they don't have time to put in the training to help that dog, then they shouldn't have that dog. And we have, well, up here in Canada, there are no licensing for owning a pet, which sometimes when I see some of the things people do to their animals, I really think that there should be. But ultimately, people don't have to pass a basic IQ test, a human decency test to have children, and they don't have to do that for animals, but maybe they should. But ultimately, it is the owner's responsibility, and if they can't look after it, that's when animal control gets called and the animal gets forcefully removed. But a lot of times, we don't see everything that goes on in the house, and that's the hard part. We can't make that judgment because we don't know what's going on. But the police sometimes take this quite seriously, and there was a few stories of pit bulls before the ban, who were owned before the ban, several years into the ban. They were playing in their yard off leash in a fenced yard, and a policeman shot them in their yard, not doing anything, and he got away with it. There was no punishment. He shot them and that was it. And it absolutely breaks my heart because this shouldn't be happening. They see them in a car just sitting patiently waiting, and the dog just turns and looks at him and he gets shot because he's a pit bull type. Pit bull type. Specific. Because a lot of the breeds don't. It is, Monica, it absolutely breaks my heart. Because our world already has enough nonsense, without using strong language, nonsense going on, and we really don't need this too. In America, they register breeds specifically because they do a lot of dog shows down there. Now, the American Pit Bull Terrier, which was the original pit bull looking breed, was originally bred in 1889, now think about how long ago that was, for fighting. Every other pit bull type was bred for show. Strictly for show, that's it. But because a lot of the people that own them pick them because they look aggressive and they have a lot of strength in their jaws, we as a society breeded them to dogfight. And now these dogs, who could be absolutely wonderful companion animals, are left in shelters. They get euthanized, and nobody wants them because of how they look. And again, without using harsh language, it's upsetting the way that our society can turn something so wonderful into dogs that now get euthanized more than any other dog. They don't get adopted nearly as high, just like black colored dogs and cats. They do not get adopted as often as other dogs, and people are afraid to own them because they say, oh, if my dog, barks at somebody, they're going to say he was being aggressive and take him away from me. And it's absolutely heartbreaking. Anyway. Okay, so breed-specific legislation was started, I believe, around 2005. I could be wrong. But they did a study of fatalities between 2000 and 2009 to see how the ban changed the bite statistics and injury statistics and things like that. I read that people adopted them and then killed them. They said they were doing their duty. Oh my God. See, this is why people should have to pass some type of test before they're allowed to adopt a dog. Because ultimately, we are responsible for their care, and if we cannot provide the appropriate care, we should not be allowed to own them. End of story. But I believe in that case, they would ban the people from owning animals. I know they do that in a lot of, when they process abuse cases for animals like puppy mills and things like that, or if they rescue a bunch of malnourished animals from a home, they ban the people from owning animals again, which is a wonderful thing, but there should be a baseline saying, oh great, you want to adopt a puppy? Here, tell me how you can care for this pet and what does it mean if your pet does this, or tell me how you're going to care for this animal. Because ultimately there would be less sick animals, there would be less injured animals, malnourished animals, things like that. But a lot of people really deserve pets and can't get them for whatever reason because they can't afford to look after them. And that's another thing. But they could give them private adoptions aren't legislated. Exactly. But in my opinion, everyone who wants to care for an animal and can look after them should have one. Ultimately, I know there's a lot of little 5-year-olds that really want, a pony or a kitten, but it is a lot of work. And I wanted a dog ever since I knew what a dog was. And every year for my birthday, I would ask for a dog. And at the time, I definitely could not look after one just because I was busy with school and things and traveling back and forth to university and things like that. But as soon as I moved home and everything was stable, I convinced my mom to let me have a dog. I said she can come to work with me. I can afford to look after her. I'll take her for walks all the time. I know enough about holistic wellness that I can look after her that way, so her vet bills would be very, very low. And I convinced my mom that way. But they looked at, going back to the study, between 2000 and 2009, they looked at the statistics between dog bites, injuries, what breed of dog, etc. But greater than 80% of the cases of dog injury, there were 4 or more significant factors related to the care of the dog or the control of the dog, meaning the dog was not in a fenced area, which is not the dog's fault. The dog was malnourished and not fed, and therefore was starving, and other things like that. But in some cases, the dog wasn't socialized because the owner was afraid to take them out and have the dog taken away from them because for looking like a bully breed. In some cases, the dog was intact still, but in the majority of cases, the dog was not related to the victim, meaning a stranger approached the fence, or if there was no fence, a stranger approached the yard and something happened, and the dog gets put down. But a big part of it too is teaching the kids how to handle approaching strange dogs. And if you're not comfortable with it, tell them not to approach strange dogs. It's quite simple. But I find a lot of kids don't know how. And I see this even when I go out with Kaya. And Kaya's incredibly friendly looking. But a lot of kids run right up to her. And I say, if you want to pet her, you have to put your hand down very slowly and let her sniff you. Don't just reach for her face. She's not going to like that. There's a very high chance she's not going to bite you. But she doesn't like things being stuck in her face. She might bark at you. But taking the time to explain that to people that want to interact with your dog will save you a lot of time and heartbreak later on. That is all I have to say about bully breeds. I personally, as soon as the ban is lifted, we may be moving shortly, close by, but I do want to get a Staffy at some point. They are beautiful, beautiful dogs, and I think Kyle would like having a brother. But for now, that's all I have to say about bully breeds. I hope you found that informative. I know for me, it's very depressing to listen to a lot of the statistics, and some of the research I do for these videos is painful. Stories about... Ooh. Disconnected for a minute there. That's all I have to say, and I don't remember what we're talking about next week, but I know I have it written down. There's a few more videos before the end of the year. I know Christmas falls on a Tuesday, so there will not be a video that day, and I believe the next Tuesday is the last day of the year, so there won't be one that day. So the last live for this year will be mid-December. Oh, trying to go live. There we go. Keeps going in and out. Also, no, that doesn't make sense. The first of the year is... That makes more sense. The first of the year is also a Tuesday. So I'm going to see how it goes if I feel like doing a video on New Year's Day. But New Year's Day at 8 a.m. is going to be a tough call, but we'll see. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your week, and I will see you next Tuesday.